Okay guys, I'm here with a little wine update. Our wine has completed its primary fermentation process, which you can kind of see with because there's no more bubbles in our airlock container and there's no more fizz and bubbles like foaming on top of our wine. You do see a little fizz like when you stir the wine, but that's okay because our specific gravity is where I need it to be. So now we're going to start the process of secondary fermentation. So I have my secondary fermentation container filled with sterile water right now. Like I told you guys, it is very important that we keep everything sterile. We also have my siphon sitting here being sterilized and my tubing for my siphon being sterilized in this container. So what I did realize when I was testing my wine out in the hydrometer is that I lost a lot of alcohol content. So what I'm going to do now is actually add some simple syrup back into my wine, which will sweeten up my wine and also add more alcohol volume to my wine. As you see, you want your simple syrup to be translucent. This is very important because while our wine is doing its secondary fermenting, we want our wines to begin to clear. So we don't want to add any cloudy content to our wine. All right, so guys, I'm going to start all this by sitting my phone down so we can actually videotape what I'm doing. All right, so all you can see right now is my, all right, let me move some things around. So I'm gonna start by emptying out our secondary fermenting container. I'm going to empty out all the sterile water. All right, and remember I told you guys we just empty our sterile water. We don't rinse again. So now I have to remove this bag. So this is our bag of fruit that I want to remove. Trying to think of a good place for me to put it, but I can actually, you know what? Being as though this was just in our wine, I can place this in the bowl that's holding our tubing. And remember, we started off with what, 3 pounds of peaches. You see how very little amount of peaches we have. All right. So now I am going to add in our simple syrup, which it may seem like a lot of simple syrup that I added, but remember I did just add that to a lot of wine. Actually, I think we have way more wine than is actually going to be able to fit in our secondary fermenting container, but that's fine. So before I actually add this to our secondary fermenting container, it smells so good, guys. I'm actually going to test out my alcohol volume using my hydrometer again. Of course, I need to move some things out the way again so you guys can see what I am doing. Alright, so I am going to test out our alcohol volume. So the process of adding the simple syrup to our wine after it finished the primary fertilization process is called chapitalization, and it's just known to increase the volume of your alcohol. Right. So now I am going to scoop some of our wine into this container right here, well, into this little cylinder right here, so I can test out the alcohol volume with our hydrometer. I want to place my phone down for a second. So our container is full. And we have our hydrometer. And we want to make sure our hydrometer floats. All right. All right, so our alcohol volume is still not really where I want it to be. So I believe once our wine finishes its secondary fermenting process, I will do chapitalization again, and just want to make sure our wine isn't too sweet. All right. So this is what I will use to siphon our wine into the secondary fermenting container. I just want to attach my connection tubing. Remember, we don't want anything touching anything that has not been sterilized. We have our connection tubing attached. So now we are going to siphon our wine.